So this is a companion video for a demo I wrote. I will try to get the latest version on the J drive for you in that. So we're looking at a calcite, I guess, web application in that. So we have a what looks like a map. It's actually a fake map in that. We have a little bit of what we call an action bar in that. But we do use, a bunch of nested HTML custom web components in that. So it is, we got to watch the names. I guess I have to watch the names as I do this video in that. So there is this concept called the shell. I'm just going to slide it across that we're looking at. So there is this header and this footer. They're not being used, so we don't see them. We are using panel start. That's where this action bar is. And we are using default. That's where this fake map is. Panel end's not being used, so we don't see it. Panel top's not being used. It shrinks and gets out of the way. And also panel bottom is not being used. Okay, so we'll see these. I just want you to have a good visual of how the shell is organized. When you don't use a slot, it kind of shrinks and goes away, and the other parts are allowed to grow and get bigger in that. And so just so we have a good visual in our head, what we're really using here is panel start and default. That's all we're using in this. But let's go look at the HTML and that. And I will get into my code window, and I want to be in this one here. Now I've rolled these up to try to keep it clear so we can focus. Now in the head, our technique is to use the CDN links in that, although we do have to install the components to get IntelliSense to work in that. So they are installed in node modules, but only for IntelliSense purposes. Trying to practice separation of concerns. We'll just write the interface in HTML and not try to create chunks of the interface in code and toss it in that. It also lets you quickly preview in the browser and stuff. But Vite's pretty fast even if we were tossing chunks in. But we're just trying to separation of concerns. Like we'll use the HTML and cascading style sheets for our user interface, and we'll use main.js JavaScript just for the code purposes in that. So I'm going to expand body in that. And so all you see right now is calcite shell because I've rolled everything up. So that's this guy here. It's all we're inside one of these in that. And there is content behind, I guess means we're going to, in the default area kind of sits in behind. It does means that panel start, right? This could be a little bit of a lie. Panel start can kind of be over top of our default area. We'll see that later when I adjust some styles. So so calcite shell has these slots. I'll bring them on screen again, and then we make components and put them in those slots, and so we'll see that. So if I expand calcite shell here, we see that we have a calcite shell panel. Okay, and I'm putting it into the panel start slot. I'll slide this one over, this guy right here. All right, that's where we're putting them. We also have this div called fake map. We're not putting it anywhere, so by default it goes into the default area in that. If I expand this shell panel in that, it has sort of like, it has two areas, but we see like three chunks, right? In that. So we see inside this shell panel, right, a calcite action bar. And this calcite action bar is in the shell panel slot called action bar. Okay? In that. So, I'll bring this across. Hopefully it doesn't read size. So although that calcite shell panel is inside here, inside it is this action bar. Okay, so it might be time where we bring the other browser just to refresh our minds, like what is that? So this is the action bar inside the panel. The panel is actually much larger, just so you know. It's actually much larger, but because we don't have anything loaded into it, right, or the things that we have loaded into it are hidden, it doesn't show them. So it's only showing us the action bar right now in that. Because we do have two other panels mentioned in here, right? But they're hidden, right? Which means their visibility is, they're not visible in that. So they're hidden, so we can't see them. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn them off and on as we need it. Inside this action bar, we'll jump back up here, we have two actions. Okay. And so if we bring this back on, where are you? There you are. These are the two actions here. So if I bring this out, so you know what an action is. One way to look at a web page is there's a bunch of rectangles, and you're trying to figure out which rectangle you just clicked on. So this is a little rectangle. Did I click on it? This is a rectangle. Did I click on it? This whole thing is a rectangle. Did I click on it? This image is just another rectangle, and did I click on it? There just happens to be an image in it, and then there's this area down here not being used, which is just yet another rectangle. And did I click on that? Now, one thing we're going to do is we'll lean into this data hyphen technique, which is a way of extending HTML elements to have more data in them that you can use in your applications. This is how we figure out, well, which one of these did you click on in that. What we're going to do in code is put an action listener, but I believe I'll have to check the code. We might put the action listener on the action bar. Now the thing is, you can do here, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Do you want to have two action listeners and apply each to the icon? One action listener, but then inside that action listener, you have to figure out which one of these did I click on in that. And so it all depends. You're going to have one action listener with a lot of code trying to sort out who you clicked on, or individual action listeners. And so it's a different style of coding, and set a standard for yourself in that. But we're going to lean on this data icon. Well, actually, it's the data hyphen part. And in code, we'll look for icon ID. And then we'll be able to tell which of those rectangles you actually clicked on in that. And based on that, we will basically, I guess, turn on or not, turn the hidden attribute from true to false, which means show it, right? You're not hidden, kind of concept. And so these panels are here with their content. We just can't see them because they're hidden. But by clicking on these icons, we'll flip this value and they will appear in that. That's basically what's going on. It wouldn't hurt at this point, and we're leaning on this built-in, and this is an HTML5 thing, data hyphen thing, so that we can sort out who got clicked on. So what I'll try to do is bring forward this particular one. I'm going to go in here and inspect. I'm going to go to the console and clear it. So I've been clicking, and it's been noticing that I've been clicking in that. And so if we click on this panel, it knows that we clicked on the action panel. If we click here, it knows we clicked on the, well, not the action panel, I should be clear, the calcite action bar. So the action bar within our calcite shell panel in that. And so just to clear that up so there's no confusion in the code, we have an event listener, and we'll go over in code on this action bar, and we can tell if we clicked on it in that. And so, and again, this action bar is inside this panel, which is inside the shell in that. So I can tell that I'm clicking in that. Again, I'll clear it. And then when I click here, right, a panel pops up. So here I'm distinguishing calcite action. I'll click here. Hey, action bar. So I can tell whether I clicked on the bar or if I actually hit one of those action / icons / buttons in that. If I click it again, panel goes away in that. Click here, nothing, no panel pops, right? So I'm distinguishing whether I hit the bar or hit an action. So let's go into code and take a look at that. And so we're going to have to flip over into main.js, import some styles, which is fine, and that. And this is where we, hey, go find the calcite action bar. Okay, so that is that thin rectangle on the side. Never hurts to go back and look at it. That's this guy here that you see expanding. Remember, there's this other part of the panel that we don't see. That's also part of the calcite shell panel, but we're just interested in the action bar. right? So we're just listening here. We're not listening for the whole thing. We're just listening on this strip, right? Whether it's expanded or collapsed. And that's what that, but to do that, we need to first grab it, right? And then add an action listener. And what we're listening for is someone clicking. And when someone clicks, we run our pop info. Our pop info, this target is part of this add event listener. When that fires, it says, hey, this is who you clicked on. In that. And so one thing is to understand a little bit of the hierarchy and how the events work. It knows you clicked on the window, and it knows you clicked on the body, it knows you clicked on the shell, and then it knows you clicked on the shell panel, and then it knows you clicked on the action bar. And depending, right, did you click on one of these exactly? So it will find what you could call it like the leaf element, the smallest element in that, or child in this node structure. It'll go down as far as it can. And that's the target that gets sent back to you. The smallest one, or the leaf node, gets sent back to you. And here's where I'm printing out, hey, what HTML element did I click on? Was it the action bar or the action in that? So if I bring that forward again, did I click on the action bar or did I click on an action? That's what's happening there. And then I'm checking, hey, do you have an icon ID? Because if you don't, I don't care, right? So you have to be, like in our framework where we lean into the data hyphen action hyphen ID, do you have one of those set? And if you do, then I care. What I'm going to try to do, right? This is a convenience thing, so I don't have to keep typing in target dataset icon ID. I can just type in info, which info icon did you click, or maybe it should just be icon clicked, right? Should I change this dynamically right now? Yeah, let's do this. Rename symbol and give this a better name. So which icon did you click on? Right there, it's more generic. And that. So which icon did you click on? And based on that, I'm going to try to hunt down its panel. Now this is where this manual synchronization, where you say, look, I'm going to have an icon called info02, and its panel will have a similar name, and I can hunt it down, and I have a thing called test, and this is called test panel, and that. So by using that, so that's just a trick of having like a naming convention that you can lean into or rely on to find the panel that belongs to this icon. And this is just a little JavaScript trick to toggle a true-false value. And basically, if you were false, now you're true, and if you were true, now you're false. So we're just switching whatever the hidden true-false value is. And then I log out to the console which icon you actually clicked on. Now this, I might have broke something, but let's go back and see if I did that. Let's clear out the console. That's good. So if I click on an icon, it knows I clicked on test, and I click it again, it hides it. Okay. And if I click here, well, you clicked on the action bar, I don't care, because I'm looking for a calcite action and an action ID in that. And so I'll just close that now. And so some other things we might want to try, just so you know, what is this? You'll see this in the samples, just so you know. Actually, I'll just dock this there, and I will dock that one next to it. And we'll go over to styles in that. If you don't do this, they do 49 because I think the breakpoint's really 48 in that. If I don't bump my div that my image is in, notice you can't quite see the zoom button. So I'll make this about 40, and I think, yeah, we're starting to see parts of it in that. 48 gets you probably right on the line, but 49 gets you, make sure you're right 1 pixel beyond the 48. So what is, when you do that content behind, it is lopping off. There's about 48 pixels that you can't see. That might not be important, right? And that, if it's a map, they can just keep panning to the right to see the content that they can't see. But technically, if you have some widgets there, you may not see them. You may want to move them, or you may want to put your div You might want to div your div and move that one of them over 49 pixels and that sort of thing. We also have some content info. This is for the bigger panel so that we can have some scrolling in that. I found that to get the overflow to work, I did have to set a height so that it realized, hey, I'm bigger than that, so turn the scroll bars on. And so this panel, I'm going to make this one big and then we'll flip into the browser, has much more this demo panel has much more information. It's got some headers. It's got a rating. Hey, let's put this back on. And that we can put that back on now. And that it also has an image in there. So let's go take a look at what that does. We'll make this big and that. And then if we click on this, then we get our panel, right? Just 8010, best course ever. You better believe it. And you will learn way too much stuff in this course. And a little shout out to a great movie from the mid 80s in that called The Stuff. Check it out. And our rating system, 5 out of 5 stars for 8010 and the B movie as well. Click on the icon again. It does the the hidden not hidden toggle for you. And that's what I wanted to go over in this demo. In that took a little while. Just wanted to go over in detail what's happening with all the different pieces of the shell. But that's it for now.